Hi, everybody. It's Tim Hagan from Progress Coaching. And today we're going to talk about coaching to the team. Now, that's a pretty nebulous topic, right? Coaching to the team. So let's just call it team effectiveness. Now, one of the things that we do, and we work a lot with new leaders, established leaders, CEOs, we work with leaders all across the board within an organization. And so here's something that's very funny to me. When you think about what we want from people, and our expectations. First of all, it doesn't come from a job description. Yet a leader really has the responsibility of establishing those expectations. Now, I'm going to teach you something called a functional requirement. So let's take, we're a manager of a sales team. And one of the things that our salespeople need to do is cold calling. Now, typically that's the expectation, yet that doesn't have substance, right? Yet a functional requirement is cold calling is the daily pursuit of 50 plus calls without exception, pursuing unique set of needs with each and every prospect that we get a hold of with absolute energy and conviction coupled with active listening. Now I made that up. With teamwork, a great team is fill in the blank by doing what? And you list out the actions and attributes that support that definition. So a great team is a collection of individuals who work cooperatively and cohesively together virtually every single day without exception with absolute passion to support one another by providing or conducting or facilitating the following attributes: active listening, seeking to help one another, conscientious effort to inspire one another. And you create your mantra, your definition of what it is to coach a team. Now, what's cool, and I just did this week with 3 different clients, coaching to team effectiveness. Now, when you do that and you're coaching to the team, the number one rule I would encourage you to think about is you first have to start with a definition. Once you have a definition, you can employ something called define and coach. So you have that definition. Now, how do you coach to it? So think about daily pursuit to inspire one another. Daily pursuit to inspire one another. Let's just say that's an attribute. So remember, we have something called qualms. So the questions, the cue could be, Peter, what have you done today to, or what have you done over the last week to successfully inspire your teammates? Activity could be, well, let's talk about a conversation you need to have with Jill and let's practice it out because I think she is struggling. The learning project, the L, can be what? Peter, every week I want you to come in with 2 examples of where you really invested in your teammates. See, then there's context to what we're coaching to. Now, let's say our fictitious employee, Peter, wants to become a leader someday. And you might say, well, Peter, think about, really investing in Jill and inspiring her, which is part of our team definition and part of our team mantra, part of our team values and principles, call it whatever you want. And if you think about that, okay, how will that successfully position you to reach your goal of becoming a future leader, which is the motivator? So remember qualms, and I should have had this in the captions. Qualms, QALMS, that's our mapping, right? The motivator is what motivates that individual. Now, S is supplemental coaching, which is what? It's a framework of the last part of our framework that facilitates coaching that does not take any in-person time. So I might get Peter some books by Mark Victor Hansen, the Chicken Soup books, which I love, which are inspiring. So I'm fueling his mind to inspire to have it come out and work with his coworker, Jill. So the first thing we have to do when we are coaching to the team, the number one rule is to have a definition. A great team is, fill in the blank, by doing what? Then you drill down, you can go even further. A great teammate is somebody who does what? By exhibiting what? And then you list out the attributes and actions. And every time I've actually done this, where I've actually taught this concept, it's very simple, right? I had out of 3 companies this week, I had probably 3 sets of people who struggled. And it was funny because most of the struggle becomes the opportunity. And one leader said to me the other day, she said, this is really frustrating. And I said, oh, I'm really sorry you feel that way. She goes, no. She goes, I'm frustrated I haven't done this. And I said, yeah, it's kind of a weird thing to do. Let me give you some context of where I came up with this. When you think about coaching sports, And a lot of times, not all the time, but some of the time you can see, kids who are, squabbling on the court. So when I would coach volleyball, I would always have this at the start of the year. Now, once you have a definition of what a great team is, then you can do something really magical. Sounds corny, it's a little bit over the top, bear with me, but you can do something that's really cool. You can actually craft conflict solution before it occurs. Let me explain. So when you have your team definition, I would tell my players in my volleyball team, okay, guys, so what's a phrase? What's an approach? What's the diction? What's the language we can use when we feel a teammate is out of accordance, is out of alignment with our expectations, our definition, that we all agree to take non-defensively. And what's so cool about that, they would come up with a phrase like, pick it up. So if you heard a player looking at another player saying, pick it up, that player's already agreed to not take it defensively, which serves as the trigger. Once you have the trigger, we don't have the emotional defensiveness and how dare you say that to me type of response. Number two, it allows you to feel safe then approaching your teammate. So when you create your team mantra, a great team is by doing what? A great teammate is somebody who does what? By acting out what, right? Same formula. Then you can say, when somebody is out of alignment with their expectations, everybody, what's a safe way? What's the phrase we can all agree to? We will not take defensively. So what you do is you proactively create a definition. The definition becomes what you coach to, which you can map your qualms to, which is questions, activities, learning projects, motivators, and supplemental coaching. Make sense? Then you can then co-author conflict. So if somebody's acting out of accordance to what we expect, what's a way we all agree? Not me, the leader, we all agree. Now you've solidified conflict resolution before the conflict actually occurs. So once you do that and you have your definition, one of the cool things that you do is I would encourage you to write this out. And if you want to send me one, or if you ever want to do a one-on-one call, I'd be happy to walk you through this. When you do that, you have the opportunity to take your definition, and I always say, circle the adjectives, circle the key words like creatively, inspirationally, thoughtfully. Those become the things you coach to. And then when you have questions, just put the word what. What have you done thoughtfully? What have you done to inspire? You just put the word what in front of those attributes. Those are your questions. The activities are teach me, or let's act out, or let's practice those things that you need to do. The learning project is just inserting in front of those things. Next week, I want you to come in with an example of were you thoughtfully inspired, thoughtfully supported. You get the idea. The motivator has to be really a separate conversation. And again, I've said this on prior episodes and prior workshops. Quite frankly, the motivator is really a conversation where you find out what motivates. Don't assume what motivates. It's very dangerous. Supplemental coaching becomes those things that you coach to, or that you use for coaching that don't take you any in-person time. So let's think about, and I'm a big fan, even though we compete with them, Patrick Lencioni, The Ideal Team Player is an awesome book. John Cotter, My Iceberg is Melting, a fable about a penguin community. And what we do is we have these books, and they should be in alignment supporting what your team doctrine is. And so when we would train our captains in our volleyball program, they would read My Iceberg is Melting. And then they started to think about which penguin was, which teammate was one of the penguins in this story. And then I said, so what did you learn from this? And the idea behind it to really solidify the team is we're all different people. That's what makes up a team. We have to accept that. We have to embrace that, not fight it, not use it against people. So once you have, the coaching to the team doctrine, you can now inspect what you expect. And again, if you have that number one rule, first define it, then you're going to be able to coach to it. And then here's the other cool thing. Let's think about employing a whiteboard coaching approach. So let's go from your left to right. I don't know if this is going to work on the screen, but if you're going from you're left to right on the board. So just visualize that. I'll try not to use my hands. And you have a present state. And you say, okay, everybody, let's think about our team right now. What do we do really well? And where do you think we have opportunities as we sit here today? That's column 1. Go all the way over to column 3, and you can do this digitally. You can do this in person. On the right side, you ask the question. So ideally, here's the definition we came in. So you copy that definition to column 3. Say, okay, here's our destination of what we want to do as a team, right? Let's go in the middle. What actions do we each need to take? What do we need to do as a team? And what do you expect from me? So the first question is, what are you going to do? What do we need to do collectively as a team? And what do you think I should do as a leader to drive all of us to get there? It's actually 3 questions. You, we, and me. So think about that. I've never thought of that until I just said that. So you're really asking questions about you, we, and me. And then once they answer that, you've now got a map created that was co-authored by the people who are going to be going through the change to get to that ideal destination, which is the definition of your team. Does this make sense to everybody? Put your notes into the chat. So let me just share with you a great story. I had a leader at one of our client sites go through this. And the people initially, we started to hear things like, oh, this is dumb. This is dumb. And it was a manufacturing organization, and people started to fight it. And the leader said, what do I do? And I was in the room and I said, so let's think about this for a second. When you go home, what's the number one thing? What's the number one priority that you expect from a family member? And people started to share it. I said, great. On a note card, put down the number one thing you expect from everybody in this room. Everybody writes it down. I said, now slide them to the person to your right, and I want you to read out loud what you got from your teammate. Don't use names or anything like that, or we put them in a pile and people disperse them. And we would hear like 10 different things. And I would smile, and someone goes, well, what's the point of that? I said, we all have 10 top expectations that are different. We're not on the same page. Doesn't mean they're wrong. So the point of this exercise is to get on the same page, and everyone goes, oh, okay. And so when we did this, people really came up with some cool things. A great teammate is someone who reacts within 2 hours of emails. You can get really specific. A teammate is somebody who goes above and beyond the call of duty before leaving at the end of the day, making sure everybody else's work has been completed. That was a big one for them because their big complaint with each other's people would just go home because they had kids and they just had to go to Little League games or what have you, and no one checked in with each other. And so what happened was, by the definition, everybody became more proactive with their work because they knew at like 4 o'clock, I got to go check in with my teammates. I hope they don't have anything to do because I got stuff to do at home. And they became more solidified as a team. And all of a sudden the squabbling subsided because what did we do? We gave them language for conflict. And I forget what their phrase was. And I think it was something like, would you mind if I shared with you? And that was a trigger for, please don't be defensive. And the other thing we also talked about is be respectful of someone confronting you because that's uncomfortable for them. If your initial reaction is emotion, you need to stop the conversation. And we had some people who did that, who said, I need to stop. I'm feeling defensive. And so when we do this, everybody, and you proactively, again, define coaching to the team, you define the team, then you're going to be able to coach with our qualms, questions, activities, learning projects, motivators, and supplemental coaching. Think about using that whiteboard coaching technique, and I think you're going to have a great story to tell. So, a little bit of a sales pitch here at the end. Do me a favor. If you are intrigued by going to Orlando next year near Disney for 2023 Progress Coaching Summit, it's kind of a cool offer. If you sign up, we are actually going to give you a seat for free, because then you're basically getting progress coaching in our coaching pods for free. So do me a favor, send me an email at tim@progresscoachingleader.com. Make sure I got that right. And just put 2023 Summit right on the subject line. I'll send you the brochure. It's essentially about $800 some bucks to go to the summit, but you get 1 year of progress coaching training, 4 reinforcement courses, and coaching pods, which is twice a month, our group coaching sessions where we practice and do critical thinking as it relates to coaching. So basically the summit is free. and it's in Bonnet Creek in Orlando next year, April 17th and 18th. Send me an email. I'd love to have you join us. We're only going to have about 20 seats. We're limiting it to our Coaching Pods community and then some people from outside that community. So send me an email and then we'll go from there. Now, here's my challenge. This week, I want everyone to put something in next week, not this week, but put something into the chat. Try a 7-day challenge. Only provide positive feedback over the next 7 days. Stay away from constructive feedback and come back next week and share with us in our workshop in the chat session. What did you learn from it? What did you notice? Okay. Everybody have a great week and we will talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.